Hi! Today I've gathered for you the 4 creepiest stories from the internet that will give you chills. Let's go!
The first time I heard her voice, it came through the static of a dead radio station. It was nearly midnight. I was driving home along the back roads, an endless stretch of pine and fog, when the signal cut out. White noise filled the car. I reached to switch it off, and then beneath the static, I heard it. A woman's voice, soft, broken, whispering my name. Evan. I froze. My hand hovered over the dial. The voice crackled again, closer this time, clear enough to raise every hair on my arms. Don't go home. The road curved ahead. My headlights caught something, a shape standing in the middle of the asphalt. A woman, drenched, head tilted, one arm twitching slightly, like she was waving. I slammed the brakes, skidding sideways. When I looked again, the road was empty. Just fog and my own breath. At home, I couldn't shake the feeling she'd followed me. The static lingered in my ears like it had sunk into my skull. Even my phone made the same faint hiss when I held it to my ear. That night, I dreamed of her, standing by my bed, dripping water onto the floorboards. I woke to the sound of my radio turning on by itself. It whispered the same words. Don't go home, but I was already there. The next day I told myself it was exhaustion. I even checked the radio wiring, nothing wrong. Still I couldn't resist. That night I drove the same route, same fog, same silence, static again. Evan. The voice was clearer. I spoke back this time, half mad with fear and curiosity. Who are you? The radio hissed like it was breathing. Then between bursts of static, came the answer. You left me there. My stomach turned. The air inside the car grew heavy, wet, like the humidity before a storm. My headlights flickered, and there she was again, standing on the roadside, her hair plastered to her face, her hand pressed against a tree. I stopped. I shouldn't have, but I did. The moment I opened the car door, the radio screamed, pure static, deafening. I turned back instinctively and saw the passenger seat soaked with water. I ran. I didn't sleep that night. The voice came through everything now, my phone, my laptop, even the old TV in the corner, the same message, over and over. You left me there. And then I started remembering. The lake, the overturned car, her hand slipping under the surface while I screamed for help that never came. It had been raining so hard that night. I told myself it was an accident, that she was already gone when I climbed out, but I never checked. I turned off every device, unplugged everything. Silence. Then my phone vibrated once on the desk. Incoming call. Unknown. Against every instinct, I answered. Evan, she said, soft as rain. I can see your house. I dropped the phone. Through the living room window, faint at first, a glow flickered. Bluish, like a reflection of water. A woman's shape stood in it, shimmering. I stumbled back, whispering, I'm sorry, over and over, but she didn't want sorry. She wanted me to finish what I'd started. The water came first, dripping from the ceiling, pooling around my feet. The radio downstairs came alive, blaring static loud enough to rattle the windows. And under the static, a heartbeat. Mine. I ran to the bathroom. Water already running from the tap on its own, overflowing the sink. In the mirror, behind me, she stood, eyes pale, skin grey-blue, hair drifting as if underwater. You left me there, she whispered one last time. Now you'll stay. The lights burst. The sound swallowed everything. Neighbors found my car the next morning, parked by the old lake road, engine still running, radio hissing endlessly on a dead frequency. No one ever saw me again. The first scream came from under the ice. Liam had been working the night shift at the dam when he heard it. A thin, human wail muffled by the frozen lake below. He froze, staring through the blizzard, thinking it had to be the wind. But the sound came again, this time closer, almost pleading. He killed the engine of the generator. Silence fell, and the faint tapping began. Tap, 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 like fingernails on the underside of glass. The dam's old floodlights buzzed, washing the cracked surface of the lake in pale yellow light. Through the drifting snow, Liam could swear he saw a shadow moving beneath the ice. Something long and pale, dragging itself slowly toward shore. He took a step back, heart hammering. The old engineer had told him stories, how they'd flooded the valley 30 years ago to build this dam, how they hadn't moved everyone out in time. Whole houses, entire streets, still sat at the bottom of the lake. Sometimes when the current shifted just right, you could hear things moving down there. Liam whispered to himself, "It's just the pressure, ice shifting." But the tapping grew faster, frantic, then stopped. The silence was worse. He turned to head back to the control station and froze. There, standing at the edge of the lake, was a woman in an old white dress, soaked and torn, her hair stuck to her face in icy ropes. Her eyes were completely black. Liam stumbled back. The woman raised one shaking arm and pointed at him. Then she screamed. The floodlights burst. Everything went dark. When Liam woke, it was morning. The storm had passed. The lake was calm, smooth, almost beautiful. He didn't tell anyone what he'd seen, not that day or the next, but every night after he heard the same tapping again, sometimes from beneath the floor, sometimes from the pipes, sometimes from the drain in the bathroom. By the fifth night, he couldn't take it anymore. He followed the sound down to the maintenance tunnels under the dam. The air smelled of rust and stagnant water. His flashlight flickered as the tapping grew louder, now echoing all around him like dozens of hands against metal. The tunnel ended at a heavy steel door marked Emergency Overflow. It was sealed, but water leaked slowly through the seams. The tapping came from the other side. He pressed his ear to the cold steel. A woman's voice whispered, soft and broken, as if carried by the current. "You left us down here." Liam stumbled back, shaking his head. "Who's there?" A low groan echoed through the tunnel as the door shuddered. Bolts creaked, water hissed through cracks. The voice came again, closer this time. "Let us out." He turned and ran. But as he sprinted through the tunnel, the tapping followed him, not from behind, but from inside the walls, like something moving through the pipes, chasing him through the metal veins of the dam. He reached the control room, slammed the door shut, locked it. His heart pounded as he looked at the control panels, rows of levers, gauges, and switches, and then he saw it, the pressure readings on the overflow chamber, spiking red. The door below was opening. The alarms began to scream. Water roared through the tunnels, shaking the floor beneath him. And then, just for a second, he saw faces in the glass of the control window, dozens of them, pale, drowned faces staring in, mouths open in silent screams. The last thing Liam saw before the dam burst was the woman in white standing just beyond the window, smiling. Days later, rescue teams found the wreckage. The dam was gone. The lake had drained into the valley, revealing the remains of an entire town beneath, houses, street signs, even a small church. In the middle of what used to be Main Street, they found Liam's truck, half buried in the mud. Inside, the radio was still on, whispering static. If you listened close enough, you could almost make out a voice in it.